I really shouldn't be making this video, but I think A Place Further Than the Universe is underwhelming. But Manime, that's not the popular opinion on YouTube right now. I know, but before you dislike my video and click away, please hear out my opinion. First, I want to start off by saying that I have massive respect for the opinions of Jeff, Pedro, Explanation Point, and literally everybody in the AniTuber sphere. They are not wrong. I just feel like the experience I receive from the show is different from most. So today's video is less about whether or not my opinion is right or wrong, and more so about how I developed this opinion, and whether or not this opinion is purely unique to me. So, A Place Further Than the Universe has been making its rounds on YouTube as the best anime of the season, and potentially the best anime of the year. And I find these opinions to be a bit extreme. You see, I think the show is truly okay, and that's really it. Let me explain further. First off, there isn't much depth to this show. What you see is what you get. There is no further meaning to most of the scenes of the show, and they all exist purely to tell the narrative, which is far from a bad way of doing things. It's just kind of the bare minimum. For instance, let's talk about the episode where they go to Australia. This is the first episode where they all leave Japan, and it's honestly a pretty boring one. They try out Australians' take on Japanese fried rice, and one of them loses their passport. And that's really it. Sure, there's some stuff about friendship in there, but that's in every episode. My issue with these scenes is that they could all be doing something called double duty. In other words, they could be telling two separate narratives at the same time. For example, let's talk about the show that I consider to be the actual best show of the season, Violet Evergarden. In the scene where she's first introduced to the typewriter, there is a separate meta-narrative that begins. Sure, it's about her learning how to express emotions, but the interesting thing about this scene is that the foil to Violet is the typewriter. Here is a machine, something she literally calls a weapon in the scene, being able to express human emotion, whereas Violet, who is a human, is unable to. Thus, it is through her new robotic hands that she must learn to understand emotions. It's incredible because it tells you so much in so little time, whereas the entire scene with Japanese fried rice is all there simply for a weak punchline / joke. The second thing I'd like to talk about with this show is the characters themselves. Although all 4 characters in the main cast have some distinguishing features, I can't seem to get invested in any of them. I find them all fairly uninteresting. Now, I wouldn't go so far as to call them flat characters. They do evolve over time and change throughout key episodes. But often after these key episodes, I can't help but feel that the writers just hit the reset button on these characters' personalities, and it's like nothing ever happened. There were so many times where I think, oh, are they gonna actually take this quirky trait away from a character for narrative purposes? And they do, for that episode. But it's seemingly never permanent. While we're talking about characters, I have to talk about the side characters. Who in particular? I don't know, I haven't bothered to learn their names because they're so irrelevant it hurts. Which is pretty hilarious considering that they're on an expedition to Antarctica and should have tons of time to interact with these side characters. But there always seems to be this giant wall between the main cast and the supporting cast. Even characters who are supposed to be on this barrier between the two seem to get pushed off towards the supporting side and given almost no chance to make any meaningful impact. Leading me to my biggest problem with the show. I watched the entire series and I only got invested in the last 2 episodes. That means for the first 11 episodes, 85% of the show, I was not invested in the characters. Yes, the show did eventually get me to care, but I'll touch on that later. but it shouldn't take me 11 episodes to care. I think the main reason this happens is because of something I'm coining as the ancient Magus Bride problem. A Place Further Than the Universe is, at heart, a cute girls anime. Cute girls shows often fall into one of two categories. Shows like Madoka Magica, where it's a heavy drama exploring the girls' emotions, or shows like K-On!, which thrive off of being about nothing at all. A Place Further Than the Universe walks a weird balancing act between the two, with drama following Chiruse's mother's death, and the fun adventures of cute girls going to Antarctica. I think episodes 12 and 13 both commit to the drama aspect, which helped me care, while all the previous episodes swung between the two. So this swinging kept me from ever taking the show too seriously, but it also never really allowed me to enjoy the fun parts. And in the end, I think at heart, this show isn't trying to be amazing. I think the biggest problem with this show is the amount of hype that surrounds it. When I first started the show, I thought I was going to watch a masterpiece, and instead all I got was a decent cute girls anime. I want to specify that I don't hate this show. After all, I did finish it. I just feel like my expectations were set way too high, which led to me being disappointed. And I'm not saying all this stuff simply to be a contrarian. I genuinely believe the show was underwhelming. I don't think it has too much to do with personal preference either. Drama is probably one of my favorite genres, and my second favorite show of the season was Yuru Camp, which is a cute girls anime about camping. If I had to put anything down as to what would affect my opinion only, it would be maybe the kind of life I've lived. I'm not trying to sound special or anything, but I have lived a fairly eventful life, so the thought of traveling to Antarctica isn't something that I'm enamored with. Maybe for most, the idea of going to Antarctica with this show is a way of experiencing something adventurous that they never got a chance to do, which is totally respectable. So for the last part of this video, to sort of offset everything I've said, I'm gonna list off a few things that I've actually liked about this show. First, the art is beautiful. Episode 12 was very well executed and the payoff was fantastic and heart-wrenching. The accuracy of the real struggles of doing research while in Antarctica is actually very impressive. They clearly did a lot of research. Don't ask me why I know so much about Antarctica. And although I don't think they were particularly successful, I did enjoy the fact that they attempted to balance drama with this sort of cute girls doing cute things genre. So seriously, let me know if you guys enjoyed this new style of video down in the comments. Like I said, this is a pilot episode for a potentially new series called Manime's Controversial Opinion. Surprise, surprise, I have a lot of them and get a ton of flack anytime I make a video about one. But instead of being smart and keeping my controversial opinions to myself, I decided to double down and make a series out of them because I am smart. Oh, what the fuck. A huge shout out to my patrons. You guys are the unseen heroes of this channel. Well, you're not exactly unseen because I have you all in the credits, but you get my point. Speaking of which, if you're interested in seeing how I edit, chatting with me, or simply supporting the channel, I run a $1 a month Patreon to make that as easy as possible. Make sure you guys share, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Manime Matt. Make sure you guys say, man, go watch that goddamn anime!